What is up, Ravens flock? Huge shout out for your support for the 410 Sports Talk. Chance and Glenn are the best in the business. They're killing it right now. They love talking Raven talk. Make sure you go subscribe to their channel. Let's go Ravens. Big trust.
Welcome in everyone to another episode of 410 Sports Talk. I'm Glenn Martin here with my co-host James Haskell. And in this episode, we're going to discuss the play of our center, Bradley Bozeman, who has recently moved back to his original position of center that he was familiar with back in college after spending his first few years at left guard for the Baltimore Ravens. And Jimbo, I mean, any complaints on old Bradley Bozeman moving back to his rightful position of center?
No, I got to give us some credit on this one because if you guys have been with the show for a while, you know that one, we've been talking about Bradley Bozeman going to center going up on 3 years now. Two, when the move was finally made official, I think you and I both were out in front and said we have no concerns about it. We actually think he's going to play really well. So suffice it to say, without tooting our horn for so long, we were on top of this from the very beginning, and he's kind of doing exactly what we were expecting him to do. I'll openly admit that is not always the case with our predictions, but this one happened to work out. And so I'm not surprised. No complaints. Bradley Bozeman is a class act and a really good football player, period. So no, I mean, I'm not surprised. And no complaints there. I mean, his transition is as smooth as I thought it would be. I wasn't concerned about any yips or anything like that. This is his natural position at the end of the day. He's been playing this since he was in Pee Wee football.
Yep.
So I feel good about it. What about you? Any complaints, concerns?
Yeah, I mean, it was when he was first switching over, it was kind of like the consensus from the fans was just get the snap to Lamar. Can we at least get a snap that's not hitting him in his shoelaces or flying over his head? And so far, so good in that area, but he's done that and so much more, right? I mean, he's been a stabilizing force in the middle. And you have some interesting little statistics about what he's done, because it can be kind of hard for the average fan like me and you to really truly evaluate and appreciate what a center is doing week to week. But of course, there's some analytics out there that help support his season so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, obviously, we know our offensive line has gone through it this year, but like you said, Bradley Bozeman has been a bright part of that offensive line, and half of his job is to win, at the point of attack from pass blocking and from run blocking. So this statistic, which really bodes well in his favor, is on the pass blocking side. As of right now, his win rate as a pass blocker through week 4 in the NFL is 100%. The highest in the NFL, the only one that's at 100%. Just to give you some names that are behind him and some context, Creed Humphrey, guy I wasn't very high on coming out of the draft, who's proving me wrong. J.C. Treader, both at 98%. David Andrews, Jason Kelsey, Frank Ragnow, and Chase Roulier, 97%. So Bradley Bozeman stands alone. There's no one else there with him at 100% win rate from a pass blocking perspective. And I think that's a big deal because we talked about this yesterday. One of Lamar Jackson's interesting stats is that he does right now have the luxury of waiting the longest before he has to push the ball downfield. A lot of that has to do with the fact that he moves laterally. Also has to do with his offensive line. I think that coincides with Bradley's win rate. Don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. No doubt about it. I mean, the best, the most uncomfortable you can make a quarterback is if you get a push from the middle of the offensive line. If you can influence them up the middle, they can't step up into a comfortable pocket and deliver the ball down the field. So having a center who can anchor and prevent those big slobber knockers from getting to our guy has certainly proved to be. I think you're right in the sense that it's been a big reason why the Ravens have been able to push the ball down the field like they have this season. Obviously, Lamar leading the league in yards per completion. He certainly owes a debt of gratitude to those guys in front of him. Bradley Bozeman has been a big part of that. But also what I love about Bradley is he's not just a run blocker or just a pass blocker, a guy who gets by in the pass game but really is known for his run. This guy can do both and does both very, very well. He grades very highly in both categories. Just looking at like PFF's grades, they have him as the 4th rated center in the league. But some of those guys above him, like for instance, Jason Kelsey is rated as the highest center. But it's interesting because he's fantastic, so far and away above the best run blocker, but mediocre at best as a pass blocker. But so you take the average, and yeah, he grades out as being number one, but he's poor as a pass blocker, at least
Right.
according to his grades. Whereas Bradley is fantastic in both areas. That really bodes well for him in his future, in the fact that when you can do both, you're not hamstrung, you're not limited by any system. The guy can really do it all. And then you talk about what he does off the field. I mean, are you going to find a better guy in the entire league than Bradley Bozeman, a guy who spent his off season, was it last year or the year before, in an RV traveling around with his wife, spreading the anti-bullying and running that anti-bullying campaign that he does. I mean, you won't find a better guy in your locker room, in your community, and right now it's going to be hard to find a better center on the field than Bradley Bozeman as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and that really comes to the question that we want to talk about here, and want to get your guys' thoughts on as well. So make sure you leave your comments down below. Is Bradley Bozeman grading him, or is he playing himself out of Baltimore? Is he going to be too expensive next year? I just want to give some history here. Of course, if you go back to at least one that was highly disputed and comes to my mind when it comes to offensive line is Ben Grubb. Is Grubb or Grubbs? Grubbs, right. Ben Grubbs and Marshall Yanda, right? We decided to pay Yanda. We made the right decision. But Grubbs went elsewhere. If I'm not mistaken, he went to the Saints.
Yeah, we chose Marshall a couple times over the guy opposite him.
And certainly made the right decision. And then I also think about, Ryan Jensen. We were unable to pay him. I mean, he just got too much money. So the reason I'm bringing these names up is because at the end of the day, as much as you want to, you can't pay everyone. Lamar's contract's coming up. Andrews just got paid. Ronnie Stanley is well paid. And so there are guys on the line. Now Zeitler is a bargain. Cleveland is a rookie. And then, that's no slight hit, at least this year with Alejandro Villanueva, but we're not sure what Juwan James is. I mean, his contract next year, I think, is $9 million. But I don't know the exact parameters of it. Either way, that's anything to sneeze at, is my point. So you can't pay everyone. So there's a potential that he might be his way out of here in Baltimore. So what's your take there, Glenn? What's your feeling? And what do you think the market looks like for a guy like Bradley?
Yeah, that's the tough part about when you see a young guy playing well on your team, especially when you have a franchise quarterback. And the Ravens are going to be paying Lamar Jackson a lot of money, somewhere north of $40 million a year. And a guy, you mentioned a bunch of guys who are due to get paid, but you forgot to mention Hollywood, who right now is the number one receiver on this team. He's the best friend of the quarterback, and he's the guy who gets a lion's share of the targets, especially down the field. So there's a lot of guys that have to get paid, so you have to make your choice. But man, I tell you what, we talk on this show a lot of times about you go as your offensive line goes. We look around the league, and if you look at the better offensive lines, they're usually in the playoffs, or at least in the playoff hunt. And if you can stay healthy, those guys are usually towards, they're playing for championships. So
deep in the playoffs.
So I think that you need to build a strong offensive line, and we've seen it where the Ravens have let a center go pretty recently, and it really bit the Ravens kind of in the butt there when they let Jensen leave. We see the success he's had in Tampa. And, last playoffs, we had our center throwing the ball over Lamar's head and getting him knocked out of the playoff game. So I'm hopeful that they can find a way to squeeze this contract in, because, my goodness, he's just been so incredibly consistent. He doesn't miss games. I mean, even before he became a center, the guy was reliable at left guard. So he shows versatility in case, let's say, the Ravens draft a young guy and realize, man, this young guy can play some center too. I don't really feel comfortable with him pulling as a guard, but let's slide Brad. I mean, there's just
because then you keep your best five on the field. I mean, the versatility is incredible.
Yeah, so he brings that versatility. But when you look at the numbers, Frank Ragnow is the highest annually. He has the highest annual salary of $13.5 million per year. That's insane. And then right behind him, Corey Linsley from the Chargers, $12.5 per year. Ryan Kelly from the Colts, $12.4. So these guys, that center position is not a position where, they're not getting paid like a left tackle, but you're getting paid and paid well. So I'd be willing to if I had to put my money on it, I would say they probably can't afford to pay him. But man, am I hopeful that they can find look in the couch cushions, EDC, tear some stuff, check underneath the chair, the
That's right.
chair
Get
in
in
your
the dryer,
car.
get in the lint trap, all of
Yeah,
it.
find any bit of money you can because this
Go get
guy
your
is
funeral
just
jacket
so
out. You know what I'm
valuable.
talking about? The suit you
Yeah.
only wear at a funeral. You got some dollar
Check the
bills in there.
pockets.
That's
Check the
right.
pockets. Because, I mean, I
Jeez.
would hate to watch this guy leave. He's just he checks every box on and off the field.
He's a Raven. He's a Raven. He's what you want for your franchise from a football perspective. He's what you want from your franchise as far as a media perspective, I guess is the way that you could put it, like out in front of the camp. Yeah, represent an ambassador. There you go.
Yeah.
Of the team. So I'll say this, Glenn. I had the same exact thought, but there's something that comes to my mind. Is that I think Eric DaCosta is learning that when you're always planning ahead, you do pay a price in the now. I do think the Ravens learned that this year with Orlando Brown Jr. I think that if they could do it again, they would have kept him one more year. I believe that. Now, the reason I'm saying that is because I think in the interim, like they would be better with him other than, outside of Alejandro Villanueva. Like he's a better football player, especially in our scheme. He's younger, the list goes on and on. But the reason I'm bringing that up is because next year, I'm not looking past this year. We got business to handle this year, right? But next year, if our running backs come back healthy, if Ronnie comes back and he's got a healthy offseason under his belt, you got Lamar another year, the big contract under his belt, Hollywood another year, Mark another. This offense has another year together to gel. If that offensive line is stout, then you got Jawan James on the right. You put Bozeman right there. Cleveland's coming into the second year, and if Zeitler's on the right side. Yeah, I think you got something special, more special than what we got now. If you can convince Houston to come back one more year, etc., right? So like Marcus Peters comes back, a lot of ifs there. But the point is that Eric might say, you know what? All chips on the table. Let's get this deal done and let's get to the Super Bowl, right? Like I could see that happening based on how I know he's always planning ahead, and I appreciate him for that. But at some point, you got to go all in, right? Like all in. We got to get this done. And I really think we've been knocking at the door for so long that this could be the type of thing that they do to show the team that they're all in and that they're going to, keep these guys together as far as the pieces that they deem most important. Man, I just think that they could be really special as an offensive line going into next year if he's still there. So that's my only thought. I tend to agree with you, and I get it. Like if you're going to put money on it, I get what that's safe money you're putting down.
Yeah.
Because historically, that's what happens here in Baltimore. And then the Ravens draft a new guy. And then it happens again. We fall in love with him. And then he's gone. Right.
Yep.
But I just feel like there's a chance. I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, I think there is a chance because a lot of teams, especially the teams that really value the line, they will pay two guys. They'll pay two guys. You pick those two. And right now, he would be the second guy behind Ronnie Stanley because they're not really paying those other guys impactful contracts. So there's a chance, and I'm hoping that he's our guy and Ronnie can get back on the field, get healthy, and return to all-pro form like we're used to. And then you got two staples, and then you use the draft and free agency to fill in the rest of the starters as well as the backups of that position. But let us know what you guys think. Are you first of all, how happy are you with the play of Bradley Bozeman?
Yeah.
And then second of all, behind that is he playing himself out of Baltimore next year and beyond? Yeah, that's a tough part about being a fan of a pro team, right? I mean, it's just sometimes you got to watch players you really like and admire walk out the door, unfortunately. So let us know what you guys think. Is Bradley playing his best ball, and is that best ball going to take him somewhere else next season? And we will talk soon.